Hello, my crafty friend, and thank you so much for tuning in to today's junk journal flip through video with a little bonus craft with me session at the very end of the video. I've decided to use one of these beautiful clothing tags that was sent to me in a happy mail from Angelica. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this to focus here. Anyway, it's just so cute. I always put a bluebird of happiness in every journal, but I was thinking I'd like to do something to kind of cover up the back of that. And so I'm going to cover it with old book pages, put a couple tags in it, maybe make a pocket out of that, and somehow decorate it with this adorable little single star earring that I found with some junk jewelry. So anyway, I'm going to put that little cluster of goodness to the side and dive into this bigger pile of goodness. So the video today, well, and the journal that I'm here to share with you today is called Because It's Pretty. And too often I find myself getting a little bit too attached to a theme or a concept or even a color palette for a journal. And after kind of limiting myself to what I think needs to go into a specific book, I like to make something that feels, for some reason, rebellious to me. And that is making something just because it's pretty, kind of like l'art pour l'art or art for art's sake. You know, I really love it when journals come together following a specific concept and the materials all relate to a specific theme. That's wonderful, but what makes them visually joyful for us to look at is the beauty, in my humble opinion. It's when the things have meaning, yes, but also are just really, really pretty. And so every single item that I added into today's journal passes the test of my question, is it pretty? Look at the back, by the way. Oh, this fabric is one of the most stunning fabrics I've ever seen. It almost reminds me of some of those Buddhist third eye illustrations. Just the look of the fire in the third eye that you see kind of in some of those beautiful old Buddhist paintings. Anyway, this snippet from some vintage fabric, sari fabric, and then this that was from the lovely Kimberly. Thank you so much for all the amazing fabrics. This cover fabric was from Tanya. This one was from May. Anyway, I think they all just come together so beautifully. And then this really fun raspberry pink fabric was from my friend Tanya, whose incredible channel is called My Jewelry Addiction. And her jewelry channel is now My Jewelry Addiction, and she makes so many videos. Oh my goodness, I think I spend more time watching Tanya than filming for my own channel. And Jason Adams too. So they've both been making a video a day for the last few days, and they're going to be doing it for 7 in a row. So I think there's another 3 or 4 days in that. So go check that out if you haven't already. But anyway, when I decided that I was going to make a journal called Because It's Pretty and just fill it up with pretty things for no other reason than the fact that I find them pretty and that I think it will make other people happy to see pretty things all put together. In the middle of that, I'm watching Jason's series, you know, all his daily videos. And in the video that he posted that I watched yesterday, I think it might have been from the day before, he was holding up a piece of jewelry, and I'm so sorry, I should have made a mental note of this. So I don't remember what it was anymore, but one of the pieces he was sharing from his collection, he held it up and said, you know, I can turn any day around and make any day into a good day just by looking at pretty things. And I think Oh, I paused his video and wrote that down in my diary and wrote his name and wrote the date so I'll remember who said it and when, because it really struck me as the reason why a lot of us are driven to make pretty art and pretty things. One of the stories I've told before on this channel, I'm just gonna go through our journal as I speak here. One of the stories I've told before that I'll definitely tell again and again, so pardon the repetition if you're one of my regular viewers, but back when I was in art school, I went to the Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver. One of my professors who was teaching an abstract painting class of all things, which you would think is the most subjective art form on the planet, she was almost a bully in retrospect. If I think back to this lady, I was, you know, a 20-year-old kid in art school. I had always loved art. I'd always been passionate about abstract drawing and painting. And when I say always, I mean like from the time I was 9 months old and my mom tells me she gave me a marker and I just did squiggly lines and dots and things on my high chair lid. For as long as I can remember, I have been passionate about art. How auspicious is it that I say I've been passionate about art right as I, not even planned, turn the page to show the beautiful goddess Saraswati. She is the goddess of art in the Hindu tradition, or Sanatana Dharma. She's seen playing the lovely instrument called the veena, holding scriptures to represent that she is the goddess of literature, the creator of the Sanskrit language. She's holding prayer beads to show her devotion. She has these beautiful peacocks at her feet. But anyway, so cool. I love putting her in junk journals because in India, she's believed to be embodied in books. You know, books are one of her forms. And so this is a form of Saraswati. So how can I not honor her in it? Anyhow, I was talking about this bully of an art school teacher. This little mini book, before I get into that story, it's like a little sampler of cool materials that I decided to include. These are just prints from my Victorian Treasures, printable kit. This cool bedazzled fabric from Kimberly. I wrote remember to be dazzling under it. But yeah, these are all things that I've pinned in. None of them are glued in. There's washi tape. You can peel that off and reuse it. So the idea is you can either keep this as a pretty sampler of beautiful things, or you can unpin the beautiful things and use them in this journal, and then use this as an extra journal because we've got ledger paper and other such funness, journal cards that I printed. So anyhow, oh yeah, and I love using, whenever I find a single earring in my junk jewelry jars, meaning there's no match to the pair, just one single earring, I actually love that the most because that means I can use them in a junk journal guilt-free and not feel like I've separated a pair or, you know, ruined something historic. But anyway, yeah, that art teacher, if you can call her a teacher, I remember, yeah, one of the paintings I made, she told me it was too pretty and that the current trend in art is to disturb the viewer. And so it needed to be muddier. It needed to have something in it that was jarring. I think her exact word was deface it with a color that will muddy it just a little bit. And you know, maybe she was right. I don't know whether she was right or not. I like to think she was not right. But I do think, you know, distressed paper, torn edges, a little ink to make something look older than it is, you know, imperfectly cut pages. Those are aesthetically my favorite things to look at in journals. But for whatever reason, I just like my paintings to be pretty and beautiful and harmonious and not marred with a color that, you know, confronts the viewer with a negative emotion. But anyway, I remember her asking me a question, you know, if you're not causing your viewer some kind of visual distress, they're not having any emotional reaction to your work. And that bothered me so much at the time because she didn't say it as an opinion. She stated that as a fact and made it seem as though, you know, if your work is visually attractive to a viewer, then that means you are just pandering to their basest desire to see prettiness, and that they won't grow for having seen it. And that, you know, the only way art matters is if art is confrontational and aggressive and forces the viewer to think or forces the viewer to react. But anyway, when I heard Jason say that he can turn a whole day around by looking at something pretty or looking at pretty things, I just thought, you know, take that, you know, Miss McIntosh. Like, pretty things, visually pleasing things, things that don't confront the viewer with hostility the moment they see them. It's not that they're not imparting some kind of an emotional response to the viewer. It's that the emotional response they impart is a positive one. And in a world so full of negative things, what the hell is wrong with making a pretty thing just for the sake of it, you know? So it's funny, I was saying at the beginning of this video that I feel almost rebellious when I make pretty things. And yeah, I think it goes back to, you know, that unfortunate art school lesson, which is that if something is too pretty, then it's probably meaningless. I love these washi tapes, by the way. So I did include an extra little bluebird and, you know, lots of wallpaper extras. Look at this one with these origami birds. So cool. The charm on the back has all natural gemstones. We have pink tourmaline. We have purple fluorite. We have rose quartz. And then this one may or may not be real. The little heart-shaped one, that could be dyed agate. It could be some kind of carnelian, or it's actually feeling to me like resin right now. That one was out of a jewelry jar. The other three I bought from Fire Mountain Gems, so I know those three are real. That one's questionable. And on this little cluster that's pinned in here, I was distracted by my little story, so I forgot to point out. This bead is a genuine watermelon tourmaline. So that has pink and green tourmaline together in the same stone. Very beautiful heart chakra energy in that. So yeah, just a bunch of textile samples and washi tape samples and pretty things just because they're pretty, with my favorite, my Ishta Devata, one of two. I have Kali and I have Saraswati. I love them both. So yeah, I think this is a fun little companion booklet to go with this, the main journal, just simply because you have your choice in whether to use those little materials to decorate this journal and then use that little mini book as a journal, or just keep it as it is, as a collectible. So yeah, I love how this turned out. I just layered fabrics. I kind of sandwiched this sheer raspberry pink that makes up the cover underlie and also the closure. The tie closure is that same stuff. I layered that between the cardstock that has the cover fabric and then this beautiful sheer embroidered white gold luxurious stuff that Tanya included for me. And then I put this really cool, almost looks like a lotus coming out of the waters, or a lily on a lily pad. I fussy cut around all of the embroidered bits on that applique. This was a gift from Kat Stone. This one I think was from Kimberly or Tanya. This one was definitely Tanya. You know what? I'm getting to the point that After I've had something in my hot little hands for a week, I start to now forget who sent it because I have the most wonderful, luxurious, lucky problem in the whole wide world, and that is I've received too many gorgeous gifts from too many people. So I'm so sorry if I'm going to have to stop pointing out who gave me what from here on, because it's starting to get confusing, and for the sake of keeping my place clean, I should start organizing all my fabrics together instead of trying to keep them in separate piles based on who sent them. So anyway, there's a little insight into how blessed I feel. And that what a problem to have, hey? I have too many gorgeous things. I can't keep track of all of them. Anyway, I love this beautiful fabric. I'm going to use some of that in my personal junk journal too. And then this adorable little fellow is a brooch that I found in my garage. My garage is my most favorite magical thrift store. My boyfriend's dad had a shop, and he would buy out old storage units and then just go through them for treasures and to resell. So he's got all kinds of cool things, merchandised nicely for when he has summer garage sales and things. But yeah, this beautiful little birdie brooch with a blue rhinestone eye just looked like he had to be nestled into some 3D trim landing on the flowers. And you can kind of see how, even though it's a diverse collection of stuff in this book so far, I think it's fair to call all of these things pretty. I've always loved these Rococo paintings. Very, very risque for their time period, right? If you consider the fact that he's looking right up her skirt. So cute. The little cherub smiling down, maybe like a Cupid figure. And I love the way she's flung her shoe into the air. I'm one of those rare grown-ups. When I go out for a walk, if I'm walking past like a playground or a swing set and there are no kids around, because of course I wouldn't want to take a swing away from a child, but if I see a swing, and it's the kind of swing that a grown-up can fit into, I will walk off the trail so that I can swing on that swing. So I just love the way she sits up here. I tucked a Lakshmi into this part of the book. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. Her hand is raised, and you see this flow of coins pouring down from her. And the idea is, as long as we keep our hands open with generosity, giving, not holding on to everything that comes our way, but sharing, accepting the fact that nothing in life is permanent, because even our physical bodies are not permanent, and therefore there's no need to be miserly. We should be abundantly generous. When we're constantly giving, the universe has to constantly replenish our supply. So the idea is, as long as Lakshmi keeps her hand open, showering her devotees with gold and with blessings and with abundance, she will always have eternal prosperity. And so she's the goddess of abundance and also the goddess of generosity. And I just think she's so pretty. Very bright green sari and bright pink flowers in her hands, and she always sits in a lotus. So I just felt like, as soon as I saw this lacy form to be a lotus, I felt like, aha. I have Lakshmi sitting in a lotus, and so let's put her in this one. Isn't that sweet? Just a fussy cut blank on the other side, so that would make a nice little journaling space if somebody would like to journal. This pretty little folio I made out of some wallpaper that came in a wallpaper sample book. And I don't always use a lot of lace in my work, but because it's pretty, I lined the edges and created some shelves for these oracle cards out of lace. These oracle cards are just a full set of cards from, I think it's called Your Psychic Source Online. It makes printables. These backs are actually my own printables. They come out of my Magic Carpet series. But see how each card has a different crystal on it. So tiger eye, garnet. Sorry that there we go. Is that better focus now? I touched my screen and it was like magic. Why didn't I do that 20 minutes ago? Okay, I'm sorry if I've only come into focus just now. Anyway, see how each card has a different gemstone and a different meaning. So as a sample, tiger's eye, your patience and determination will soon bring you the most opportune moment to succeed. Garnet, awaken your deepest passions and create your unique path. Recognize your inner power. Citrine, joy and wonder will soon fill into every area of your life. Sunshine and prosperity come in unexpected ways. And last but not least, Pyrite. With your willpower and money mindset, you will manifest great abundance and prosperity. Speaking of Mahalakshmi, interesting, since she is the goddess of abundance and prosperity. Anyway, each card is different, and I've arranged them in this little file folder with silver and gold behind them because what better thing is there to set crystals in than silver and gold? Let's do one more. I feel like this card here is calling. And I filled this folio so long ago, I don't remember which cards are where anymore. Amber. You will see your way forward through balance and stability. Emotional healing and happiness will soon follow. Another wonderful message for the day. Maybe somebody needed that. My hands felt like they were heating up with that card too, and that's funny because that is one of the properties of amber. Last but not least, aventurine. Luck is on your side today as the universe supports you as you create prosperity and well-being. A few of these cards today mention prosperity, so maybe we're all in for a boost of sales or a raise depending on where you work. These vintage book pages I tucked into these pockets that I created, and these are things that you can use for collage work. Those are original stains. These are very old pages, but I picked these specifically for the titles of the books. Wishes Come True, and that's in a little silver pocket on a gold background. And then this one, The Understanding Heart. Is that a beautiful book title or what? And then into here I tucked in just some cool vintage stamps. I love this one from Rwanda, the girl's hairstyle and her nose ring and the scarf around her head, her beaded necklace. Oh, as a jewelry lover myself, I was tempted to keep this for my personal hoard, but one of my goals with the junk journals for Etsy is that I have to use my favorite things. If I'm not using my favorite things in the journals I sell, then what right do I have to sell them? You know, why would somebody else want it? And then this very, very pretty. This is a genuine Victorian card. This came out of a Victorian scrapbook. And it must be a biblical reference. He heareth us. So just a beautiful scene. I'm trying to get the camera to focus again. There we go. Sorry it shakes it whenever I tap it, but that beautiful little miniature landscape scene, I just adore it. There's nothing like a little miniature something. And what I love about Victorian ephemera, whether it's a little mini, this was probably, you know, a tea card, or it came with a purchased thing and then ladies would save them and collect them. There's no product information on the back though, so maybe it's just something that they purchased to add to their scrapbooks. I'm gonna put this back here this time. It's not where I had it before, but I kind of like seeing the swinger on her swing with Lakshmi. Beautiful illustrations of roses. Sorry, every time I get up and move, the camera's losing its focus now, isn't it? So just a fun assortment of vintage book pages. in this front pocket. This is really a journal for somebody who loves to make art and do collages and collect old papers. There's a page out of a English to Russian dictionary. Drew, that's interesting. Dressing table, draw. Speaking of, this is a book for an artist. That's a synchronicity. And then I just loved the illustration. There's another miniature landscape, isn't there? Just like on that card we looked at. That wasn't even done on purpose. But anyway, yeah, look at how pretty all these things are. This gorgeous brooch from my beautiful artist friend, Kat Stone. Ooh, I had show and tell too. I'm making some fun jewelry for her. And before I ship it, I just wanted to show you how gorgeous this necklace is. With all different kinds of charms and beads and the boho style. Natural Larimar. And the reason I said I have to show you this is that I used a lot of aventurine in it. So the fact that aventurine came up as one of our cards for the day. And of course there's a Lakshmi. Anyhow, speaking of Kat, I had that show and tell and I had this show and tell. She sent me some beautiful, beautiful brooches for my personal junk journal. And she knows that space-themed things, suns, moons, stars, are my all-time favorite subjects or symbols. So this, oh, the way the different rhinestones blend in different colors and the subtle colors you don't usually see in things like this, like the shades of pearlescent yellows. Oh, sorry, this doesn't go with the journal. That's for my personal book. I just had to show you how beautiful it is. She always hooks me up with the best things to put in journals, like this 3-dimensional purpley lace. I'm gonna try to focus again. I'm sorry, usually my phone automatically focuses, so I'm gonna have to look in my settings to see if I did something different today. But this lace with this gorgeous butterfly brooch, and you can take the brooch off and wear it. And I have seen online that brooches are in for 2024, so hey, take them off our journals and start wearing them again. I would love that. I love the way it looks to wear brooches. This envelope is a printable from a shop called The Paper Cameo. I lined it with a printable, again, from my Magic Carpet series. This one is called Faded, I think just Faded Blue. And it's a distressed vintage carpet pattern. I put gold paint around the edges. I made this little medallion out of polymer clay and then gilded it with mica dust. But I love the artist Waterhouse. I love Art Nouveau, and I especially love Waterhouse and the pre-Raphaelite movement. And William Morris too, for that matter. The wallpaper design is William Morris. So the fact that this envelope combines two gorgeous Waterhouse women, I put it in there. Why? Because they're pretty. You already know why. Another Russian dictionary page, English to Russian. So yeah, and these little pressed flowers and leaves I glued down. I made this kind of pocket flip up thing out of another of my fussy cut Victorian ephemera prints. And that's in my printable kit called Treasures from My Victorian Scrapbook. All of this, the other side of this wallpaper, is great journaling space. And then this is also a pocket where I put a very beautiful, big, long journal tag made from another vintage wallpaper. And I just stapled a little fabric cluster to the top. Really cute. And I thought that looked nice, just sticking out from there. The cover kind of had a color scheme on this one, didn't it? With that raspberry, kind of pinks and grays and teals. But inside I've tried to keep it multicolored and vibrant and just whatever I found pretty. This gorgeous thing, thank you to Angelica or Angelica. I'm so sorry. I think I've heard Kat Stone say Angelica, which sounds so beautiful the way she says it, but it makes me feel like, am I saying it right if I try to repeat it? So let me know if I'm pronouncing it right. But she sent me this from Austria, and it's out of a receipt book from the 1950s, and it's just the most beautiful paper. This is out of a book from the 1960s. It's a guidebook on how to use your typewriter, and it just has really cool fonts. This was from Kat Stone. This is handmade paper from India. Beautifully printed, that design. The only reason I included this is that she sent me two. So the other one I'm keeping for myself because it's so beautiful. Like, this is not just because it's pretty. This is like because it's so pretty. So pretty. Look at the colors. Doesn't the blue in these flowers look just like the stone angelite? That's this blue here. Good thing I'm wearing it. And this bracelet was my gift to self this Christmas. I picked it out of my Etsy inventory and decided, you know what, I'm going to be sad if somebody buys that. So I snagged it. And then this was my gift from Kenley. Really beautiful, whoops, African turquoise beads. So anyway, all my favorite colors are represented in this beautiful floral khadi paper. Here's a heart-shaped clip-on earring. Beautiful flip up with this sheer and bright pink sari fabric. The other side of this ledger from the 1960s, I just folded the bottom up to make it into pockets, and I included a couple of vintage playing cards with just really pretty kind of paisley or like paint poured. That kind of looks like those acrylic pour paintings. I love those things. But yeah, the clip-on just kind of holds that all secure. I made sure to leave lots of room for writing, drawing, painting, collaging, journaling. So yeah, I think I achieved a good balance in this particular journal. This pretty beaded vintage sari fabric is just paper clipped on with a beautiful heart made out of some crystals like cubic zirconias or glass or something, just out of a junk jewelry jar. Beautiful Degas painting backstage with the ballerinas. I loved that this was in an art history textbook with absolutely nothing on the other side of the page. So you've got that whole beautiful white paper to make art. And then here is an old masterpiece. This is out of a 1930s Canadian accounting textbook. Here's a sheet music page from an old music page. This beautiful Bavarian clock. I just love, I've seen these on the Antiques Roadshow from time to time, and I just love the detail work. When you look at the clock mechanism, see that sun? I love, like I said, anything with the celestial theme just captivates my imagination. I love astrology, I love stargazing, I love sunbathing and moon meditations. I love all of it. So these old clocks that have the little illustrated sun, moon, and stars that rotate under the dial are just, what? Pretty. And turquoise. Turquoise is my favorite color. Turquoise and gold together are what I think the most pretty color combinations. That's why, again, I used all these things because they're pretty. I think I started telling you that story about art school. This is from the 60s, 1960s. In art school, that teacher of mine who would, you know, get on my case for making things that looked pretty. Well, in one of our class critiques, we were all showing our paintings. Love this wallpaper, by the way. That little spray of gorgeous flowers. Maybe I'll just zoom in a bit. Here's what I'm gonna do. That way, it should stay in focus, and I'll resist the urge to lift things up to give you a closer look and trust that you can see it. This is out of a really cool magazine from the 1960s, a lapidary magazine. A page about tourmaline, because you do get a tourmaline with the book. And there I did it again. I lifted something up to show you, but miraculously it stayed in focus. This is Sears wallpaper from 1928. This was one of my absolute favorites. It's an original floral silver stripe. So, so pretty. Look at the silver on white stripes. It's very subtle, but when the light hits it, it's so, so beautiful. And this is available as a printable in my Etsy shop, the 1928 Sears wallpaper samples printable. Another book page that I chose because of the title of the book, and I will get back to my art school story. I'm just thinking we'll do that when we come to the middle of the signature, because then it's just going to be the other sides of all the pages. And so it won't really matter what I'm talking about. Urgent old message pages from the days before cell phones. I love these vintage pages. They're not glued in. You can take them out, but they did get a little bit nicked under the pin that's holding on this pretty fabric. Speaking of turquoise and gold. This, I will put a little label on it. It's genuine to the 1600s, 1600s. I'd been hoarding that for the longest time when I finally decided to use it. It's almost like having a relic in your book, a relic of the past, a snippet of paper that against all odds survived hundreds of years from the time of, you know what, I'll have to do a journal one day about Marie Antoinette, because this is contemporary to her lifetime. Isn't that interesting? I'll have to double check those dates, but it just struck me. And Kat sent me a book in her first Happy Mail with some beautiful antique French illustrations, not prints of antique French illustrations, I should be clear, are from around that same time period, with a little note in the front that said, if I ever make a book about France or Paris, you know, use this. So maybe I will. This is just a vintage image that I found and printed. I stuck an earring through it because why not? Those pretty little beads. This flips open. I just loved Color Symphony as a title page on this crochet project. Made that into a pocket. This is a printable from my Arabian Nights Magic Carpet Kit. This side, not that side. And then just some more antique book pages. Perfect for your collage purposes. One of the cutest little stamps I ever did see. That pretty vibrant butterfly. This was out of an antique kids book. It's a list of other books they can purchase, and I just loved this Victorian illustration of a lady looking in the mirror. She, actually not a lady, maybe, is this a little girl trying on her mom's clothes? Looks like she's lifting her skirt a little bit. But the oversized hat, the draping of the other clothes on the chair in the background, just the whole thing. Oh, it was too pretty not to put in a book about prettiness. A shorthand. Another page from The Understanding Heart. A page about portraiture. A book about how to make portraits. Atlas page. Some really gorgeous vintage sari rhinestone trim. Beaded and rhinestone. That was from Tanya. Another page from my Magic Carpet digital kit. There's another Sears wallpaper print this time. One of my favorite things to use. This is coffee dyed paper made by the beautiful and talented May in Saudi Arabia. My crafty bestie. And I did just a fun fabric flip on this side using some of that dotted vintage blue trim. More fabrics from Tanya that I layered, and then another piece of this gold and turquoise. So that flips up to reveal a painting by an artist named Maurice, or Morris, a French artist in the 1600s. So what's really fun is, like, if you flip back a few pages and there is paper from the 1600s. Where did it go? Right there. Like this, you can feel it. You can feel the texture and look at the ink, and even see some of the places where the ink kind of smeared or blotted at the time, and just look at that and look at this master of a painting. This is a sticker I printed on glossy paper, by the way, so you can maybe even stick it down here so that it's touching that page. But it's fun to look at this painting made in the 1600s of a woman from the 1600s, and look at the book she's holding and the paper kind of draped over her side table there, and to think this existed when that was painted. And it's funny, I look at this painting, whenever I see this, it's maybe, I might even say this is my favorite historic painting, just because I love old books and old textiles. The only thing it's missing, I would say it gets 8 out of 10. It loses 2 points because she's not wearing any fabulous jewelry. Right? Doesn't she? She needs some bracelets. She needs like a big statement diamond briolette drop necklace or some such thing, or just a big over-the-top strand of pearls. Like, what's funny is that usually wealthy women of this era, even if they didn't own their own expensive jewelry, the artists would paint it in. So it was a decision to leave that out. But I'm still docking at points, because if I'm looking at a beautiful woman, I want to see some beautiful jewelry, okay? Anyway, we are finally at the center signature. So I made a fold out of a big piece of music paper from 1935, almost antique. And I included the title page from that beautiful book called A Life Illumined. And I just glued some flowers to it. I added some gold acrylic paint. It's from 1913, so this is a genuine antique page, as are the other pages I've included from that same book. So that kind of adds some historical relevance to your collage work. Dangled some beads from the center signature. Really pretty turquoise. These are just vintage jewelry components that I found in a junk jewelry jar. This one's really cool. It almost looks like a rutilated quartz at first, but it's some kind of fiber captured in resin, but very pretty, and it has a lot of texture and dimension to it. This little cluster of antique book pages, again, just because they're pretty. So yeah, like I was saying, this would be a great journal for somebody who themselves is a book artist or a collage artist, because I've included, this was the ripped off of the spine of a book that I redid into a journal. Fabrics, such pretty embroidered fabrics. Anyway, yeah, you could easily take that apart and reuse its pieces. I made a pocket out of this beautiful brocade trim. I included an old aerogram in it. Great journaling space on both sides of this. That's why I left it unglued. But yeah, so okay, I started to say, why does it feel rebellious for me to make a book of things just because they're pretty? When really we're grown-ups here, we're crafters. We have every right to do something just because it's pretty. So yeah, in one of the critiques in that art class, the instructor said to me, you know, for your next work, I want you to follow some rules. And she may or may not have said the word rules. She may have said principles or who knows what. But she told me, oh, just look how pretty that is. You know, work on a larger scale, because people won't take something seriously if it's on too small of a scale. Use colors that you don't like, you know, to break out of your comfort zone, and be sloppier with it And when you think it looks finished, add something else just to, you know, destroy whatever you think is the best part of it. She told me not to paint the edges of the canvas. She said, interior decorators paint the edges of canvases. Artists don't bother with making something look pretty. So anyway, she gave me all kinds of rules. She said, stretch my own canvas because people won't take you seriously if you buy store-bought canvas. That might actually be great advice, but anyway, I just decided on principle to break every damn rule that rhymes with witch gave me. I'm sorry, I don't like to call women that word, but she acted very, very meanly towards her students. So anyway, look at this angel. Just love that carved angel. And I just love, by the way it looks to have all the papers and fabric sewn right in as a book page, the different colors, the different textures, the way they're layered, the torn edges. Like, I just love how this came together. One of the first journal artists I started watching on YouTube is Heather of Ruby and Pearl. And when I was first learning about junk journals, just watching the way she would effortlessly combine torn edges with cut edges and old papers with new papers and cream with white. Like, usually you'll see somebody coffee dyeing or inking or carefully avoiding a white edge, but it actually looks kind of good to have both, right? Gives a good variety. Anyway, this is just clipped on. Whoops. This wallpaper. I found this when I moved in with my beloved Kenley. There was a roll of this under the sink in my ensuite bathroom. And I asked him if it was there for any reason, and he said he thinks it probably just came with the house. So I've claimed it as my craft supply, and I love adding it to journals. Totally blank page. So this stuff is just clipped on using a big chunky clip-on earring that I bought at a thrift store in Pincher Creek, Alberta, one of the coolest little mountain towns. And I just glued some lace to the other side, and that way it looks pretty on both sides, both the flower side and the back of that vintage 80s clip-on earring. And of course, pink lace goes well with ballerinas on the other side of the Degas painting. But anyway, I decided to break every single rule. Here's where we're going to put that when we craft it. Every single rule Elizabeth gave me. So I went to the dollar store and I bought the cheapest, littlest frame I could find. I painted the whole thing, including the edges, only in colors that I find pretty. I did gold detailing on the top because she told me not to use metallics or gold or to glue crystals onto things, which I had done to other paintings I had made for the class. Basically, I broke every rule she gave me, and I called the work My Precious Rebellion. That was the title of the painting, because she told me that my work was too precious. So yeah, My Precious Rebellion. And of course I got an F and decided not to go back to Emily Carr for a third year because I just hated the fact that they were trying to dictate to us what did and did not qualify as art based on some arbitrary rule somebody came up with based on what was trending at the time. Look at this. This is out of a book from 1905, just a stunning English garden with a castle in the background. Who doesn't want their own castle? And I just layered it with this pretty fabric. This is from a book from 1921. Kids Illustrated book page. So, so cute. I'll put a label just like one of these on that 1600s paper as well before I send this out. By the way, the book is available. I will list it in my Etsy shop for $333 Canadian. At the same time that I publish it on YouTube. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. And of course it comes with everything that I've shown you except for the sun and moon brooch that Kat gave me. But yeah, all the stuff in the little booklet, all the stuff in the big booklet. And if you have seen my videos before, you know that I always give away the ring that I wear in the flip through video as a gift with purchase. So whoever gets this journal, pardon me, I have to do this off camera because my fingers started swelling a little bit standing in the sunlight here. But yeah, I found this at the thrift shop the other day, and the lady who opened the ring glass lockbox for me, as soon as I put it on, she said, "Oh yeah, that's a you ring." And then she kind of caught herself and said, "Wait, why am I saying that? I don't even know you." But I told her, "Oh, you know me well enough to know that this is a me ring." But it's just so stunningly beautiful. I love it. I was tempted to keep it for my personal hoard, and then I decided no, I have to give it with this journal because I bought it specifically to go with this journal, since the colors, that turquoise and gold, they're just too perfect with each other. Anyway, I'm going to work fairly quickly here. So my idea was I'm going to glue a little bit of antique book page right over this, and then just kind of tear it. So let me do a little fast crafting here. So yeah, that little painting, My Precious Rebellion, it still sits very proudly on display in my mom's house on a framed magnet board that she has next to her front door. So it's funny, and she knows the whole story. She thinks it's just hilarious. And she said that, you know, as a teacher, that should not have received a failing grade because it's an artistic decision in art class to literally break every rule. And it's a very nice looking little painting. I remember classmates of mine even, you know, kind of laughing and saying, like, you know, grudgingly, you know, you did all the things to make it look pretty, and it does. So if you really think about it, I was successful in my artistic objective. I'm going to do this a little differently than I had originally planned, and instead of making that into a pocket, I'm just going to use an earring, similarly to how one might use a staple. Don't try this at home. Use pliers, don't risk puncturing your thumb, but I did that the lazy way. Look how cute. Beautiful Bluebird of Happiness. I don't know the King Louis brand, but I do love their tags. Held together with a star. Look at that. A single stud earring. It's a DIY brad. Make your own brad. And then these can be taken apart and used in whatever collage work you choose. That'll look really cute tucked right there. And so yeah, if you must have this journal for yourself, look at this. By the way, I forgot to point this out when I started the video. I love the colors in these sequins. These are just magic stitched to fabric. I just adore all the textiles. All the things I included in this journal are things that I would call my personal favorites. And this is also just a single old earring that I've bent. This one I did with pliers. That's how I got the sharp looking bend. But I just stick it. I might have to do this off camera. No, we got it. I just stick it through the top layer of fabric here. If you buy this book and you would like this piece to be permanently attached, just let me know in a message at checkout and I'll glue it down permanently. I thought it would be fun to have it detachable so somebody can choose to have it or not have it, but it doesn't have a brooch closure, which means, of course, it's a little bit loose, so it does not necessarily stay where you would want it. But yeah, I'm just going to tie this up so we can see how stunningly beautiful it is with the ring. The closure is permanently attached, by the way. It is glued down right here under this little strip. So yeah, it's on there. It's not just tied around. And I realized that I put this brooch on upside down because it is a stunning iris flower, just in beautiful purple. It's truly vintage. I would guess 1950s, but that's an uneducated guess. So yeah, if anybody knows, I would love to know. It's one that I bought for myself, but when I saw how good it looks with these colors, I decided it has to go with this particular journal. And it has to be upside down because somehow that just looks the prettiest. And we're doing things today, not because they're right, but because they're pretty. So I hope, looking at the pretty things that I've curated together in this beautiful art journal, if I do say so myself, oh yeah, look at these pieces together. And you can really wear these, you know, wear that stunning ring, wear this beautiful bracelet, brooch, I mean. But yeah, I hope it brought you a little bit of happiness looking at the pretty things I put together in this journal. Thank you so, so very much to everyone who likes, comments, and has subscribed to my channel. I really do appreciate that. That helps my videos get better seen and picked up by the algorithm. And especially a big, huge, heartfelt thank you to everyone who has come over to my Etsy shop to make a purchase. That is literally what pays my bills as an artist. And it's just nice to be able to look back at my art school experience and think, you know, despite the prejudices in the formal art community, and despite the fact that maybe works like this would be considered outsider art, even still, it is possible for us to make a living following our passion and doing what we love and doing what we're meant to do, and gaining inspiration from each other and also putting inspiration out there for others. I just feel so blessed to be part of this amazing, growing YouTube community. And so thank you for being a part of that. So much love to you. Happy crafting. See you next time.